You're underestimating me. You don't really know me because you don't really know yourself. Ooh. Suits season 1, episode 9, Undefeated. 42 minutes of shadow boxing. Netflix, let's run it back. Welcome back to my channel. It's Liv, living life with locks and learning lessons along the way. And in this episode, Harvey meets his match. So we already know that Harvey and Mike are very similar. When Mike stumbles into the room where Harvey is doing the interviews for his new associate in the very first episode, in the pilot episode in season 1, episode 1, you hear Harvey say to Donna that Harvey's looking for the next him or another him, another me. If I was Harvey, another me. You can say that Mike and Harvey are very similar. Over the course of these first few episodes of the series, you do have moments when Mike is mimicking Harvey, either in the way that he styles himself, from his hair to his suits, the value of his suits, the way that he carries himself, actually giving Harvey's name when he needs to try and get some information or when he's trying to make progress on a case, and also mannerisms that he's picked up here and there. But Travis Tanner, I feel like is a mirror of Harvey who ends up opposing Harvey. In this episode, we experience Harvey on the other side. So the focus around this episode is on a class action suit, which learning from the series about the legal world, this is when there are several people who are complaining about a similar experience, all against the same corporation or person or individual or organization. So basically there are multiple people, several people, could be tens, could be hundreds of people, maybe even thousands, all saying that they have been wronged in some way by the same organization. So they group together and their legal representation is usually shared. That's my assumption, but I'm open to being corrected by anyone who has more legal or law expertise. In the comments, drop a comment and let me know if you can give a clearer definition to the people there. Basically, several people have an issue with the same company and they all complain. They all file lawsuits against that corporation and they kind of band together. That's why it's like a class action. So it's like a class of cases, a class of individuals who have had experiences that they want dealt with or issues that they would like resolved. The law firm Pearson Hardman, so that's your Jessica Pearson, that's your Lewis Litt, that's your Harvey Specter, that side, Rachel Zane, all the main characters that I usually mention, they all work for Pearson Hardman and they are on the side of the class action individuals, and they have a lead witness or they have a lead client who is called Kenny Verdasco. He's the one that has the most lines of all the clients, of all the people that are in the office about this case. He's the one that has the most lines in the episode. So you do see Harvey interact with him directly. He's the one that's being deposed or having a conversation in the conference room to kind of get a sense of what his story, what his experiences are, whilst the other people, the other plaintiffs as it were, they are in the office mingling with each other. So they don't necessarily know each other outside of this case. So they are interacting with each other to figure out what their solid argument is going to be, what their collective position is going to be moving forward, but they do operate as individuals. Travis Tanner, the man that I mentioned, he is on the opposing side. He's the one that is the lead counsel, I guess you could call him, the legal representative or the lawyer for the company Emerson Petroleum, which is who this class action is against. The long and the short of the case is there's a school in which many of these people worked or they were a part of that school community, and there was some sort of oil leak or some sort of chemical release that then led to all of them having some form of cancer or another. And so now that they have raised their grievances, it's now a case of what decision do they want to take in order to move forward. So this is where there's a financial compensation retribution for the error on the company who exposed them to this biochemical that has affected their bodies, that's caused them to have cancer. So they've band together on this, and Travis Tanner is a lawyer who is known for, and this is part of the due diligence, this is part of the research that Mike has done because Harvey asked him to, because Travis Tanner kind of bowled up into the office and was just like very showy. That's why I say he's like a Harvey in terms of he walks around very polished and very assertive and somewhat arrogant, I guess. But Harvey doesn't know who he is. Travis walks into Harvey's office and introduces himself and basically presents himself as the man who will be going up against Harvey on this case. Now, the interesting thing is that this is actually a case led by Jessica. When you first watch the episode at the beginning, this case is led by Jessica. But because Travis Tanner wants to face off against Harvey, I think face off is a really good term in this case because I think of the film Face Off. And yes, that's synergy. I never thought about that before. Travis goes in and challenges Harvey. So Harvey goes to Jessica and says, I need to be on this case. I need to lead this case. And Jessica immediately picks up on why Harvey now feels like he should be lead counsel on this case, because Travis had walked into the conference room where Kenny and Jessica were doing the interview, or, you know, I think it's a part of the deposition that was being done. Jessica remembered that interaction and thought, okay, if Harvey now wants to be on this case all of a sudden, there must be a reason. And for Harvey, I would say it's either going to be a really big case, that's why he wants to be on it, or it's because he feels like he wants to win against someone who has challenged him. I would say Harvey doesn't turn down a challenge that he feels either one, he would win, two, it would be just a really fun fight. I feel like Harvey kind of puts the fun in law or legal battles. Not to say that the cases that come to him are fun, because there are a lot of things that cross over moral and ethical boundaries, but I'd say he makes it like a fight. This episode is all about shadow boxing, because I feel like the way in which him and Travis throw jabs at each other, metaphorically speaking, it's very much like how you would challenge yourself to be better. So I feel like Harvey put himself on this case because he wants his name and his credibility and his reputation to stand based on actually going up against someone who he feels is really good at what they do, or they are known for what they're able to accomplish. Now, the difference between Harvey and Travis, whilst there is a lot of similarities, it is actually Mike who brings it to the viewer's attention, so us, that Harvey is basically having a man in the mirror situation when he goes up against Travis. But the difference between Harvey and Travis that you do hear about in the beginning and you understand more as you go along is that Harvey is very much a known name in the legal space and in the space where clients have firms such as Pearson Hardman on their side. Whereas Travis, whilst he wins his cases, whilst he's very much like Harvey in terms of the result that he gets and his scorecard, as it were, so the number of cases that he successfully won on, his name is not as well known as Harvey's is, but he thinks at least Harvey would know his name because of his own reputation and credibility. So I say with the two, they're similar in terms of they're both really good at what they do. They seem to get what they say they're going to get done for their client done. But whilst his name is out there, people know him, he's very much someone who wants people to know who he is. Travis Tanner kind of flies under the radar because when Mike did his research on Travis Tanner, because, you know, Harvey needs to, as I've said in previous episodes, so that's why you've got to watch other videos or other episodes, watch the videos to those episodes to hear what I've commented on, because what I've said previously is that Harvey likes to study his opponent, and his opponent being the lawyer, not only the client that opposing lawyer represents. Harvey wants to know who this Travis Tanner is, because when he walked into the office, Harvey didn't really know that much about him, if anything, definitely not by name alone, whereas other people know Harvey by name alone, whereas this Travis Tanner, clearly he's not known by name alone. So when Mike was trying to gather some information about Travis to feed to Harvey, to inform Harvey so that Harvey can know how to play the man, very much what another episode was titled, and I think you see that here. So I feel like episodes are not titled in isolation. I feel like they're introduced as things for you to then think about when you then watch subsequent episodes, if that makes sense. Because a previous episode was called Play the Man, the one that has Dana Scott in there, or Scotty, when they were talking about hotels and merging. You still see that tactic and technique in terms of the way in which lawyers outmaneuver each other moving forward, because I would say this episode you have playing the man as well, because in the information that Mike gives Harvey, Harvey's thinking, okay, this is what I can do with this information based on who Travis is, or what I believe a man like Travis would do. But then Mike recognizes and brings to Harvey's attention that the two of them are they're like two different sides of the same coin, because just when Harvey thinks he's ahead, he's actually behind. So you actually hear Mike and Harvey have these reflections with each other, saying, why do we feel like the moves we're making are sending us backwards rather than moving us forward? And it's because Travis is making moves that Harvey would make. And so Harvey's having to take a step back and really think about himself as if he was going up against himself. And that's why I say it's shadow boxing. And this is where I would say Mike becomes more than a sidekick to Harvey. I feel like he allows Harvey to have an outer body experience while still having someone on your side. Mike plays devil's advocate to Harvey, but in quite an angelic way. Harvey's the cutthroat one out of the two of them, but yet Mike will deliver things to Harvey that either one, makes Harvey feel like it was his idea, or two, Harvey doesn't give Mike the credit of an idea until the idea works. So there's a lot to kind of take in from that dynamic, because it makes you think that Harvey feels like he is always right, or his decision is always best. But you need Mike there, because there are moments when Harvey doesn't have the right decision or doesn't have the best move in mind. And so he needs to dip into his toolbox, or he needs to step away from the situation, put a bit more distance between him and himself. And that's where Mike has an opportunity to step in and be like, how about this? But Mike is so humble and so modest, or their banter, their relationship is so unique, that even if Harvey runs with Mike's idea and doesn't give Mike immediate credit for that idea, Mike still keeps moving forward anyway, but not because he feels like he's submitting to Harvey and therefore he cannot stand up for himself. He doesn't feel like he deserves to have his name on things, but because the win for Mike is different to the win for Harvey. I think Mike just enjoys the fact that he's involved in practicing law, considering he always wanted to practice it, but then because of some decisions that he made and the way certain things turned out, it kind of moved him away from being able to follow that path in the right way, as we'll come to as Mike's story continues to unfold. But as I've already talked about, he's practicing law without having a law degree or having gone to Harvard Law School. So only a handful of people know the truth about Mike at this point, because Rachel still doesn't know, Jessica still doesn't know, Lewis still doesn't know. I feel like because Mike, this was his dream, his career of choice, and so therefore just being involved, just being able to do what he always wanted to do and get his life back on track in the way that he visualized it. He's grateful for these moments where he can offer something to Harvey that Harvey hasn't thought about. And so that's why I say, like, their individual personalities fit in nicely, fit in well, because if you had an exact replica of Harvey in Mike, there would be some sense of, I mean, Mike and Harvey do come head to head sometimes, but if you had an exact replica, I feel like there would be even more ego in that dynamic, and there would be a sense of the associate feeling shortchanged, whereas I don't feel like Mike feels shortchanged. They can play off it with each other, where Mike can joke, you know, that was my idea, and Harvey will have some quick comeback and be like, yeah, but I'm the one that put you here, or yeah, I thought about it too. As I say, he will give Mike credit after it has worked, because if it doesn't work, he definitely will tell Mike that was your idea and there's a reason why it didn't work. I would say with Travis and Harvey being two sides of the same coin, what then happens is Harvey has an epiphany. He thinks, okay, I not only need to think about what I would do next, I need to think about what someone wouldn't think I would do, and that's what I do. It requires some mental mapping watching this, if you're watching it the way I watch it. So whether you're rewatching Suits or whether you're watching Suits for the first time, if you're watching Suits for the first time, you gotta let me know how these video commentaries are influencing what you see if this is the first time you're watching Suits. And if it is, let me know, because I'm interested to know from a fresh eyes perspective, because I've watched this series multiple times and therefore the storylines aren't new to me. I think one of the biggest surprises for me watching this again for a subsequent time is how early on some of the characters come in that I always knew were there, but I didn't know that they were in season one. Like, I don't know why, but I just didn't expect, or I didn't recall Dana Scotty coming into season one. And Travis Tanner, I knew he was a part of the series at some point, but I didn't know he comes in as soon as or as early as season one. So that, for a rerun viewer, was quite interesting, because I'm like, oh, this is the episode when you come in, because I'm now no longer just watching it. I'm thinking about when characters come in and how the main characters' stories evolve, their journeys evolve throughout the series. And so I'm like, you're in season one and you're in season one. Now it's making me wonder who else is in season one. Now I know Sheila isn't in season one. Now I won't give you her surname and I won't tell you what character she's linked to, but I'm saying Sheila, Miss Sheila now, and you will definitely hear about her when she actually enters the scene. But I don't think she comes in until a few seasons in, because she's a big character and she's a big part of one of the main characters' character development. And so it's like, I know who the primary and the secondary and the tertiary characters are, but what I'm finding really fascinating is seeing when they're dropped in and where it takes the primary characters at that point, because with each season I would say there's like demotion and promotion for each of the characters as they move through the series. Travis Tanner was a bit of a surprise on my screen when the episode started, because I wasn't expecting him so soon. But at the same time, I do appreciate him coming in at this point, because what it taught me, I feel like a lesson that I took from his involvement in Harvey's storyline more than any of the others, is the importance of knowing yourself from an outsider's perspective. So yes, it's good to know yourself internally. I think everything starts internal. Knowing yourself from the outside is also good, because then if you ever cross paths with someone who is seemingly similar to you, you can think about how you can do that dance with them. It's not always a bad thing. I feel like Travis being a part of this episode and being a part of this case, if we get into the world of Suits and not just see it as an episode, but see it as a real life situation, it allowed Harvey to not become too complacent in his role, because it's easy to go up against someone who you know you can outsmart. It's a different ball game when you go up against someone who you are uncertain if you can outsmart them. And there's definitely several moments throughout this episode where even if he hasn't done it outwardly, Harvey's done it inwardly, where he's questioned, do I even have a next move? And if I have a next move, do I even know what it is? Because this lawyer is so good. This lawyer is so good. And you've heard Harvey say a few times in previous episodes, he can respect a lawyer who actually fights for his client. It's not so much about Travis fighting for his client. He's very much like Harvey. He wants to win. So that's why he's making moves the way Harvey would. For example, Travis knows as a lawyer that he cannot go directly to an opposing lawyer's client to discuss a settlement or discuss deals or anything, you cannot intimidate or bribe the witnesses of the opposing side or the client of the opposing side. The lawyer has to be present. That's why they always say, I can't speak to you, I can't answer your questions, speak to my lawyer, speak to my lawyer. Travis knows that. So when Harvey gets his private detective, so Miss Vanessa is in this episode again, Casey from Hitch, as I've said. When Harvey tries to get Vanessa to do some digging on a lawyer, which you actually learn from Vanessa that Harvey's never investigated a lawyer before. So that is something that if you didn't hear that, I'm letting you know that. So that's a piece of information, because it shows that Harvey usually finds out the information for himself about lawyers, but he doesn't usually have lawyers investigated by his private detective to pick up details about them. But he did in this case, because Travis flew under the radar. Mike could only get information about Travis through court records, not through press releases and stuff, whereas Harvey, his name is everywhere. He's in the media because he's very much high profile and puts himself on a pedestal, whereas, you know, Travis doesn't. But yet they're similar, and that's why they're very similar, but they're also very different in the way in which other people receive them. You see Harvey coming, but Travis you don't see coming. Travis is like Harvey's shadow, and it's hard to fight your shadow. It's a challenge. It takes a lot of concentration and intention as well. When Vanessa does some digging and she comes up clean, there's no information about Travis that is necessarily going to help Harvey. But what she does provide Harvey with is where Travis will be, or where he plans to be, or is intended to be, or expected to be at some point. So in a hotel, and Harvey's like, yo, I'm going to rock up to that hotel. But that's a move that Travis made, knowing that Harvey was going to do something to find out that information. And this is why I say, go watch the episode and then come back here and let's unpick it together, because I'm going to say things that happen in the episode. So if you don't want to hear something that happens in the episode, you want to see it first, then pause here, go watch it, and then come back. And then let's talk about it in the comments. Harvey turns up, Travis is there. Travis is then speaking to Harvey about what he would offer Harvey's client, which is the class action suit. But the people part of the class action are all there. So technically, Travis is not doing something wrong by speaking to Harvey about the deal that he's offering, because he's speaking to the other lawyer, but he's speaking to the other lawyer in the presence of the other lawyer's clients. And that's a maneuver that Harvey did not predict. So in doing so, what Travis is actually doing is telling his opponent's client, so his opponent being Harvey, what the deal is, without telling the opposing lawyer and allowing the opposing lawyer, Harvey, to tell the clients himself. So it's sneaky. It's very sneaky, but it's sneaky in a very public way. So I guess this is when Travis kind of steps behind or steps outside of Harvey's shadow and is like, you're underestimating me. You don't really know me because you don't really know yourself. Ooh, is that a bit of a penny drop moment? I'd say so, because I've been calling Travis Harvey's shadow, or a version of Harvey that operates in the shadows. But I'll still say there's a lot about Harvey that Harvey himself doesn't know. And I feel like Travis has helped to reveal to us that Harvey still has things to learn about himself. And sometimes it requires him to take a step back, reassess. I think I'm going to rock with that. So watch it. Definitely watch the episode and see what you pick up. Aside from that, there is something else that's happening in this episode that I'm going to talk about, just so that I can have it noted here, because it is developed further in future episodes. So the other thing that's happening is that Jessica Pearson and Lewis Litt bring to the attention of the associates that there has been a breach in the firm where someone has leaked a witness list to a rival firm, Wakefield Cady, and they're trying to figure out who it is. And what they offer the associates is an opportunity for someone to come forward, either the person who did it to come forward, so basically confess, or someone who knows any information about the possible informant to to come forward. And so that's kind of the situation that's going on internally inside of the firm. So you got this case that's going on, but you also got this going on internally. So you actually see Harold again, and you see a character called Jimmy who comes up again in later episodes of the series. What I do find a bit annoying about the Jimmy character is that he's trying to find a scapegoat, because it's him. I'm gonna just tell you that it's him. He's the one who leaked the list. You do find that out in the episode. If you watch it and you listen to him, when you know it's him, like I knew it was him when I started watching this episode again. So listening to the way that he was interacting with Harold, trying to poke at Harold and say, is it you? Was it you that did it? Or trying to make it seem like it was Mike who did it. I found that actually quite irritating, because I was just like, if you've committed the crime, shut up. That was exactly how I was feeling. I was like, it's you. So why are you drawing attention to yourself? Because what happens is another character gets introduced, Benjamin. Benjamin works as part of the IT department. Not only a part of it, I think he leads the IT department. He is the person who has information on the company codes and stuff, the employee codes when they're using any of the equipment, any of the devices, any of the technical gadgets in the office. He's a very important person in the law firm to keep it running. And you do see Benjamin pop up a few times throughout the series. I'd say he's more a tertiary character because you don't see him that often, but he's still worth mentioning. If I was to put him in a category of characters, not primary. Primary is reserved for, like, you know, the main lawyers that you see. Then secondary, I would say, is anyone who may be a lawyer who becomes a part of the firm, but they're not necessarily in the majority of the series. Like Dana Scott, I wouldn't put her at primary level, I'd put her at secondary level. And then Travis Tanner, I'd put him at tertiary level because he's there, but he's not a part of the law firm. Whereas Benjamin, he's a part of the law firm, but he's neither a lawyer nor a frequent visitor to the upper offices because the IT department works on a different floor. So Mike goes down there to investigate because, you know, Mike has feelings for Rachel. They have quite a relationship, friendship going on. They're not quite seeing each other yet, but there's a lot of flirtatious banter. So the fact that Rachel got scapegoated as the person who leaked the list, which Rachel would not do. Anyone with sense in their head would know that Rachel would not do anything that will put Pearson Hardman in a compromising position. She is very, very loyal to the firm. So I would back her in this situation. So Mike is trying to get her name cleared. And in doing so, he does some investigations, and that results in him meeting up with Benjamin to kind of find out some information. And then what happens is Benjamin then visits the office, the law firm's floor where the bullpen is. And when he's in there, he greets or says something to Jimmy, but he doesn't know Jimmy as Jimmy. He knows Jimmy as the name that Jimmy gave him in order to get another employee code in order to scapegoat someone for the crime that he was committing, which was breaching the law firm's confidential documents by sharing that witness list with a rival firm. So that's going on as well behind the scenes. And I would say, in terms of the title of the episode being Undefeated, I would say it links to Harvey being quite an undefeated player. So it doesn't matter how well the other lawyer performs in a case, Harvey's still gonna win, or he's still gonna get a win of some sort that he can. It's not to say that he's never lost a case or never had to change what he's happy with in terms of a desirable result. So he may not have always got what he wanted, but for the most part, Harvey is the best closer in the sea. Harvey is a solid lawyer. Then you've got Mike, who you can say he's undefeated because he actually used his brain specialism. I don't think that's the right term. I don't like to say photographic memory. He does have a photographic memory, but I don't think it's limited to just being photographic. That's why I don't like calling it that. Saying Mike's got a photographic memory, I feel, is quite limiting. But he was able to use that in order to outmaneuver Benjamin to give him the information that he was seeking when he went to visit the IT department. And then I would also say Lewis got something handed to him as well, because when Rachel came back, she said, I'm not just coming back because you've invited me back. I'm coming back and I expect more. So that's when she negotiated. There were 3 things she asked for. 1, a raise in her salary by 10%. Lewis was offering 3 and 7, and she was like, nah, 10%, and I'm sticking to it. And Lewis had to cower to that. 2, for the firm to pay for her law firm fees when she decides to go to law school. So then that also shows that she is committed to actually going to law school. Regardless of how she tests, she is going to try and make that come true. And 3, she wanted an apology. Now, what we do find out is that whilst Rachel was good in the way in which she came at Lewis and said, I want this, this, and this, and she got that, and that, the way she went about it actually showed her inexperience at being a lawyer, because always get something in writing. If you want to hold someone to something that they've agreed to, get it in writing. Name, date, signature, have it noted. And that's the advice I wish I could have given Rachel in this episode, because later that comes back to bite her. So if you do want to unpack more episodes with me of Suits, any part of the series, any season, any episode, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you do not miss an upload of an episode, commentary, or a series. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching another video on Must Watch Gotta Learn. You can find more commentary for Suits Season 1 on my channel. And if you want to be the first to watch any new season or series, then subscribe to my channel. On Must Watch Gotta Learn, we turn our favorite fictional TV series into real life lessons. It has never been more fun to binge watch a rerun.